Hello, everybody. It is John, and this Shelf is Dusted, episode 7. And in this episode, we have a conventicle of conversant interlocutors who will perform the coronach of conventions past. So that's our theme for tonight. And I think I probably confused you all with my language. So
Yep.
yeah, I thought so. Anyway, it's an assembly of knowing people having a conversation.
Okay.
And the coronach is a lament. So will we be lamenting anything?
I might be lamenting this podcast in a second.
Yes, we're doing something very different. So I'm sorry, but my Gaelic is about as current as my Rhodesian passport. So that's not doing well. So tonight on our cast we have Dana.
Hello.
We have Joe.
Greetings, listeners.
And we have a special guest, Shane.
Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Can you just give us our wonderful listener out there who always sends in the one
singular,
our singular, yes, our singular listener. And but anyway, if you could just give us a brief description of who you are, Shane.
Well, no worries. I'll tell that singular listener, who's actually me, probably, because I've listened to every episode, a bit about myself, shall I? No, but look, I'm a board gamer. I've been a board gamer for about 3 or 4 years, got into the hobby thanks to the Dice Tower. And then from there, it just grew. I have a very busy work life, and I got into the hobby to do something different. And my boys challenged me along the way to get into Instagram, then to get onto the Dice Tower as a regular, and but then it all grew. Then that myself and Dave connected. Dave Guard sold me my 100th game.
Outrageous.
Which was This War of Mine. And so then Dave and I connected, and then it grew there. From there, we built a community, and here we are today. I love the wonderful Brisbane, Queensland board gaming community, and it's just such a passion of mine to be a part of it and continue growing it. So that's a bit about me, mate.
Oh, that's good. Well, we're all a rather peculiar mob, aren't we? Or a weird mob.
Speak for yourself.
There we go. I always speak about myself. We were talking about that earlier, weren't we? That I could talk under wet cement.
That's right.
But our next our next segment is what have we played since last we met? So, Dana.
Well,
I've stunned you, have I? Would you like me to go to Joe?
No. I was actually I thought we were going to be doing a different part of the podcast first, and I was actually gluing some 3D printed inserts together.
Multitasking at the best of times.
Sorry, I was just doing concurrent activities. Well, I'll talk about what I played at Briscon, I guess, because that was actually the last thing I played. I haven't played anything all week.
Yep.
So,
Great Western Trail.
I didn't play that at Briscon.
Tuesday.
Oh, on Tuesday, yeah, we did do that. Anyway, I'll talk about what I played at Briscon. So first of all, I played a game which I had not played before called Oak by Game Brewer. Joe, you refused to play.
Outrageous.
if you
I know. It's an official protest.
And it was actually Eddie from the president of LXG was there, and he offered to teach the game. And it's quite a nice. I was actually quite impressed with it. It's a very simple worker placement game. There's nothing much to it.
You like dressing up the characters, don't you?
Excuse me. That was like my main thing to talk about.
Dear, all right. See, John spoils everything.
It's okay. Dana can go back to gluing your bits of plastic.
Anyway, it's a worker placement game, and you've got little druid meeples, and you're going to be playing cards that correspond to places on the board. But the best thing about this game, and I think that it wouldn't be the same if it didn't have this, was that you can dress up the little druid meeples, and they've all got little, well, they're not outfits, they're really accessories, so you can accessorize.
Oh, gee.
And myself and another lady who was sitting at the table, all we could do was fidget with the meeples and the little outfits or accessories while poor Eddie was trying to teach the game. But there's like a little satchel or a little cape, and there's a little headdress with horns and things like that. And they're really so cute, and they're really nice quality as well. They're like a rubber material. But
yeah, the quality was really good, I thought.
Yeah, well, it was.
Well, I'm glad Game Brewer put all of the money that they got from the 2 other failed Kickstarters that went into obviously improving Oak. So
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's about to say, not bitter there at all, are we, Joe?
No. Stroganov and what was Hippocrates? Yeah, certainly didn't live up to the standards. I wish that, to be honest, I think, look, I got a $10 credit back on Oak and I still didn't back it, but if they'd invested the same level of quality in Oak, which I think they did learn from those 2 Kickstarters, they probably would have turned out slightly better. But without taking any shine off the game, would you actually acquire this one, Dana?
Yeah, that was my question for you.
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't. Only because I've got a lot of worker placement games. It's probably the most common type of game that I have in my collection, but it doesn't make me think enough for my liking. It's quite basic, I would just say.
You did start with that. You said it was quite an easy game, so
it is quite an easy game, but I'd liken it to maybe slightly more complicated than Stone Age or something. That kind of thing. Right. I didn't find it particularly difficult, but the gimmick is that you dress up the meeples, and that could wear thin quite quickly. But no, I wouldn't acquire it. It wouldn't be something that I would acquire. Now, let me talk about something that I would acquire.
Okay.
And I have already acquired.
Oh, wow.
Another game for my collection.
You know what it is, John? It's Age of Steam. I guarantee it. It's Age of Steam.
There we go.
Well, one of us has bought Age of Steam in this podcast. Who is it? We shall find out soon.
Oh, yeah. So, towards the end of the night, I had signed up for Darwin's Journey, and that was taught by Dave Crew, and I have never been taught a game by him before, but he is actually a very good teacher.
Yes.
And he actually put me to shame, really, because sometimes I teach games as well, but he was very, very good. So I think I could learn a lot from him. But I would say that this game is huge, not just in size, but in the amount of brain power required to understand this game or to get across the strategy in this game. It's a worker placement game as well. And the theme centers around Charles Darwin's adventures in the Galapagos Islands, and you're tracking his memories, which supposedly paved the way for the theory of evolution. And the teach went for probably 45 minutes. It was a rush teach because we were running out of time, but it went for about 45 minutes. And as he was teaching it, I could actually feel my brain filling up to a point where it was full, and I was looking at the other lady across the table, and we both just sort of stared at each other with this realization that, okay, we're not taking in any more information. But there's a lot going on in this game, and I would say that after I played it, which actually we did it in about 2.5 hours, which was pretty good, but we had decided that we needed to take very quick turns to sort of get through it in time. But I would say that I only really got probably a third of the game, really. I wasn't, it was one of those games, where there's so many things to do and you just can't do everything.
Yeah.
It's one of those types of Euro games. But it was one of those games that left me thinking about it afterwards and left me thinking, I'd really like to try that again just to see if I could get my head around it. It was really challenging, and the components are very nice. This was the Kickstarter version, mind you. It comes with metal coins and little rubber seals, like proper rubber seals, and it comes with these little wooden, they're sort of lenses, and
he's got the game mats as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, the play mat, which actually that's when I said the game is huge. Well, the board is huge. He was lucky that he had the play mats, because they actually split the board in two, the normal game board in two. Otherwise, you would not have fit the game on the trestle table that was there.
Right.
It wouldn't have fit. It's a very big game. So, but it was very, very tight, and it was a joy to play, and I came last by a mile. But it didn't bother me, because it's something that I've thought about ever since playing it. I've thought, I have to play that again.
Now, did Dave Crew follow the Tom Vassell rule?
What's the Tom Vassell rule?
If you're the teacher, you must not win the game.
Oh, really? No, I think he won. He was just too good. Actually, I have taught Dave Crew a couple of times before, and he won those as well.
Yeah, no, he's very good.
He's a human calculator, and I have sat at the table with him, and he is the master of combos, and he can see combos 5, 6 turns down the track, and I have sat there in amazement looking at the other people at the table going, what are we witnessing here? Because none of us understood what was going on. So yeah,
I did think it was very ambitious that he was teaching Darwin's Journey and kicking it off from 6 o'clock.
Yes,
knowing we had a 10 o'clock finish. So, and I think prior to that he taught on Mars, and then prior to that he taught Marrakesh. So that's 3 big games in one day.
That's a champion
brain
award
burn.
right there.
That is a champion award.
Well, he said he was a little bit drained, but it certainly didn't show after a 4.5-hour game of On Mars. So, yeah, very good.
So on Board Game Geek, Darwin's Journey Collector's Edition is rated 8.7.
Oh, really?
In terms of ratings out of 250 odd ratings. I have it. I went all in for it, and I accidentally bought some extra copies of it, and they had gone like hotcakes when we were part of 2D6, and I'd advertised them back then. But I'm just looking at it now, and I'm kind of going, I actually want to play it this weekend.
You should.
It's. How does it compare, Dana, to when you say it's crunchy and there's so many good things like from a strategy element? How does it compare to Lacerda, like in terms of making the brain work? Is it more or less complex or completely different field?
It's funny you should say that, because I have played Weather Machine a few times, and then I played, actually last week I played the Gallerus for the first time. I just think, well, for me anyway, this is just my opinion. Maybe it's the way that I learn or whatever, but I found Darwin's Journey just, there's so many things, more than I can remember a game having, that there's so many things to do, and more than in a Lacerda game, which is like, for example, Weather Machine. There's 4 places to basically place your worker, whereas there are a lot more in Darwin's Journey. I think there are 4 or 5 main sections. Then there's another section. Then there's a water where your boat's going and traversing for new species. There's just so much. And I think I found probably Weather Machine just a little bit more condensed, even though it was still a difficult game to learn, but it was just a little bit more condensed. Darwin's Journey, there's just so much there.
So would you say with Darwin's Journey you've got to do a little bit of everything?
Yes.
Yeah. Versus, focus on a few things. You can do a little bit of everything to get.
Which is why I came last, because I didn't do that. But yes, you need to do a little bit of everything. Yeah. I think I'd need to play it 2 or 3 times to get the hang of it, I think. Yeah. But it was really wonderful. I just loved it, and I'd highly recommend giving it a crack.
Well, obviously you do, because you just went and purchased it. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you got this in your collection?
No, I did get it offered up to me, but I did purchase something else instead. So I pulled out off that, and Joe, you would be happy. I did purchase Age of Steam.
There we go.
There you go.
Woohoo! Well done. Congratulations. Welcome to the club.
Oh, that is a good game. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have to organise a catch-up and play Darwin's Journey Collector's Edition. So, this was the very first Kickstarter I bid on, was Darwin's, and it took forever. And in fact, I would go and console with Dave and saying, "Have I been ripped off here? Like, is this my first Kickstarter back?" And it's now I've lost money, particularly something like €300 worth of investment. So, and back then the euro was actually better than it is currently performing. So yes.
Was it 2 years? Would it be 2 years that it took?
I don't think it was that long. It was only just on a year, wasn't it?
Joe?
No, I think it was. Well, I reckon it was actually late 2019.
Okay.
So that's a long time.
I didn't think it was that long.
Time ago.
Yeah.
Time flies, obviously, hey?
Right. Well, Shane, what have you played recently?
So what have I played? So I didn't get much gaming on Briscon. However, I did play. I taught Beer and Bread, which is a great 2-player game. I kind of set myself up at the front door, and so I thought I'm going to set up a 2-player game, and that way I can buy the front door, and that way I can teach that and manage the front door at the same time. However, I did play Pipeline with Dave, Ingrid, and Shane, and that was late on Saturday night when my brain was fried. And here I am playing Pipeline, and I got stuck. I couldn't do anything. I thought, there's no way I can generate money here. There's no way I can sell to the market. In the end, though, I found a pathway to try and get some money near the end, and it was a pretty close game, and the score wasn't too bad. I played on Sunday, late Sunday afternoon. We all talked about getting City of the Big Shoulders to the table on Sunday, which didn't happen. So, and we then chatted with Eddie, because Eddie's very keen on playing Chaos Order. So we were talking about getting Chaos Order to the table. That didn't happen. And we played Broom Service instead. So you know how we have that really nice table set up. So there we are, 5-player Broom Service, full player count. I've never played it before, and I'm thinking, this is some, family game. Oh God, no! This was so mean, and the way the game plays is you say you're either going to be brave or I can't remember what the other, because I never did the other one. It was like cowardly. You're going to be cowardly. So if you're going to be cowardly, you instantly get the action that's on the card that you play. Or if you're going to be brave, you've then got to wait around till everyone else goes around the table. But if anyone else plays the same card and they say brave, you get nothing. And there was a gentleman sitting next to me, and I feel really sorry for him, because he would play this brave card and it would come to me and I'd play the same brave card. And generally I would then get the action. There was even times where I played the brave card and I couldn't do the action. I just wanted to play the brave card so he couldn't get it.
Denial.
This gentleman, he said to me at one point, "I've had enough. That's seven times you've done this to me." he was counting. And everyone, like the laughter we were having, it was just brilliant. And then there was this one moment there. Everyone had played their cards, and it was just me and him without one card left to play. And so he laid out his brave forest witch. He said, "I'm going to be a brave forest witch." And everyone looked at me and they said, "There's no way you will have a brave forest witch in your hand." And I just went, "Here's your 8th time." And we lost it. Everyone erupted with laughter. That is probably the funnest game I've ever played. Really good fun. So Broom Service, if you ever see it, totally recommend it.
I have played that. I have played it myself. And from the box cover, you would think it's a kid's game.
Yeah. Oh, no. Were you as mean as what we were?
No. Well, I was playing it with a bunch of, pacifist type females, so no.
And mind you, the gentleman that I was being mean to, he loved it as well. Like, it was just fun. And but there was moments where I thought the table was going to get flipped. That really nice table was going to get flipped. But it was such a good game, and the scores were really tight in the end there. But then also too, on Wednesday night we have an event here in Brisbane North at the Fugitive Ferret, and we hosted a game night there, and we had a great turnout there at the venue. I decided to do something different. So whenever I go to a game night, you've only got a limited amount of hours, so 3 to 4 hours where you can play a game. And a lot of people turn up and they'll take a big, heavy game, and that is it. You are just dedicated for that game the whole night. I took a whole heap of 2-player games, and I put out on our event page, I said, anyone that wants to play a 2-player game, come and sit with me and we'll have a good night. I ended up playing Beer and Bread. I taught that to a new player who loved it. Then tried to go and search it and try and find a buy it, and you cannot get that game anywhere at the moment. We then played Six Nipped.
I love that game.
Great fun card game. We ended up, encouraging more players to come and sit with us. And a lot of people around the table, they were exhausted after a day of work, so they just wanted some, mind-numbing, don't have to think too much, fun. So we played Six Nymphs after that. Then we played Splendor. So I taught Splendor to 2 other people that had never played Splendor before. And they were thinking, this is fantastic. So they're looking for Splendor, which, you can get anywhere. And then I finished off with my mate Nick, and we played Baseball Highlights 2045. Cue the da-da-da-da. And there we go. And it was fantastic. It was such good fun. I've only ever played it with Steve Shivers before. Steve and I had always been trying to play Baseball Highlights 2045, and we could never get to the table, but eventually one night we did. So that has been my kind of like week and a bit of board gaming. It's been quite eventful and quite a few board games played, but I totally would recommend at a board game night, take a heap of small 30-minute games and get a heap of games in versus one big brain burner.
I think it's good to break it up now and then. That's what I think we've started to do at LXG is to kind of get a warm upper, and then get to either 2 or 3 lightweights or a couple of medium weights in for the day of gaming. And like when you can get 3 games to the table, that's a pretty good effort.
Yeah.
John, what did you get done last I think a week and a bit ago? You got like 5 in one day.
Yeah, what did hang on, I've got to have a look. What did I play? Oh, they're usually when Matt comes over, we rip through those quite quickly. I'm just trying to think, where was it that we... I
think it was a couple of weeks ago on the weekend.
Yeah,
I saw
it would
you.
have been quite a few weeks ago. I
saw you. I saw your post.
Yeah, I can't find it on my thing at the moment. It's what I tend to... Look, I'm a vague old man. I'm allowed to forget where I am. But look, the games that I have played at Briscon, I got to play Celestia, and Joe's going to eventually lose his copy if he doesn't keep a good grip on it. So Celestia, I really did enjoy that. That was so hilarious. Actually, when we get Stuart on, we will have to make sure that he tells how his wonderful wife set him up for failure in that game. It was brilliant. So played Celestia. We played, what was it, Go Clover?
So Clover.
Oh, So Clover. Yeah, So Clover, which was interesting. None of us guessed anybody's combinations. And then we played Space Base. And that's all I got, sadly, the chance to do as my...
Viticulture as well. You played Viticulture?
No, I wasn't there for Viticulture on the Saturday.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So unless we did something in the afternoon when we... No, it couldn't have been. No.
And how did Space Base go for you, John?
Can't remember. Did I win?
You won. Absolutely.
Actually, you did
yes,
win.
I did too. I've just spotted it. Yes, I had a win. So consequently, the great old ones will now arise and the earth will be destroyed. So, but yes, that was basically what I got up to. And Joe?
The only real difference there for Briscon was that I got into a 5-player game of Eclipse, which was really good.
You finally got a game of Eclipse, did you?
I did, and it was really good because at the same time I was doing a bit of a teach. So I had a new player who just bought the game, and they sat next to me and we played it together. And so it was actually not a bad little way to run through a teacher. I mean, he grasped and already had kind of the mechanics in place, so it was a pretty good opportunity to kind of, do it as a democratic type, let's have a look at the strategy here type thing. So eventually he, after about round 1, he said he had to go, and then he ended up staying for 7 out of the 8 rounds because it kind of worked out so well. But that was a really good game of Eclipse. Lots of different strategies going on. There was a lot of turtling going on. G-Money kind of built.
What is turtling? What does that mean?
Turtling means kind of hiding a little bit out of way of being engaged in conflict. So
you're kind of sitting back in your shell, and doing your own little collecting, your own little strategy. Let everyone else fight it out. And then eventually you appear, and you end up claiming the victory.
Yep,
gotcha.
Yep. And so he tried to do that, and I think he was probably 1 round away from kind of doing it. And the good thing about Eclipse is that you can kind of put your little, what do you call them? The space tiles, if you like, or the planets, and the wormholes. You can reorient them so that they don't actually connect, so it gets harder for another player to kind of come into your area, and so there were some early on alliances. Christy, Joseph, I hate you if you're listening. So now I'm going to keep your copy of Voidfall and probably Fractal as well now. But no, it was an awesome game, lots of fun. The guys really gave it a hot crack at the conflict and taking over the middle. So it's one that I think people kind of leave to some of the bigger events to play, but it's not as chunky as say, Twilight Imperium or anything like that, where I think, I think we were done in about 3 hours. So for a 5-player, that's a pretty good effort with a bit of a light teach and a reminder. Dave Gard hadn't played for a while. G-Money's, I think it was his first one there too. So it was pretty awesome. Other than that, I think on LXG I got a hand of Dune Imperium in, and some of the stables of It's a Wonderful World in as well. So
that's right. It was one of the longest games of Dune Imperium that I've had to sit through. But yes,
I was just about to say, how long
heavy.
did it take you?
Oh dear. I think it must have been, we got there at 9, started probably about 9:30. We finished at
1:30.
I think Fee said it was 4.5 hours. I think.
It was,
Dune Imperium.
fairly long.
That is a long one.
But anyway, we learn as we go along. So tonight's main topic is, I guess, doing a dissection of Briscon from the perspective of the Board Game Together event that was run at Briscon. So, Shane, would you like to tell us what you took away from the 2 days that the event ran for?
Look, for the 2 days, I took nothing but euphoria away. It was really, really good. I'll give you, I'll take you back, back to February 2022, when Dave and I first were approached by the Briscon group. We were trying to get it up for 2022, but we just didn't have enough time. So we said, look, just keep us in mind for 2023 and so we've been engaged with them for quite a while. So it was then all this planning that took place over 12 months to then be there on the Saturday, bright and early, because on the Friday night, all our games were put in the games library. So we wanted to make sure we were there bright and early to make sure no one was walking around and looking at all those wonderful games that we had in the game library. Mm-hmm. But then opening the doors to, we had someone there at 8 o'clock in the morning, wanting to come in and start playing games. And we just said, look, we'll open early, and we did. We opened from 8:30, and there were so many great moments for me personally where, I could look amongst the room and see so many people having a great time playing board games and this wonderful hobby we all love. But it was more the people that were walking through as well. Didn't realise this type of hobby existed. And, families walking through. People coming through on the Sunday even as well, where they were coming from the markets. So we had the markets on, but we had probably more people walking through on the Sunday than we did on the Saturday. They were some real key moments for me and key takeaways. And then walking around at the tables and seeing all the laughter, all the fun, people connecting. But then also too, one of the big ones is we had an RPG event happening in our room too.
Nice.
So not only we're connecting the board gamers, but we're also connecting the RPG community at the same time. And so that's another takeaway from us, working with the RPG community moving forward. How can we blend together and work together as we keep growing? But as I said, so many cool takeaways. I think one of the nicest moments for me was I had a gentleman walk past the door with his child, and I had a game that someone had won on Saturday, sitting at the entry desk, and the gentleman said, "Oh my God, where did you get that game from? My daughter loves the game, and we play it with family, but we've been looking for the copy." And so I mentioned to the gentleman where I bought the game from. And it was on the north side. And I just told him to hold 5. I ripped it out of our game library and I gave it to them. And seeing the face of that, his child and himself, he said, "This is amazing." And I said, "Look, please take it." It was, it was only a $15 game. It was Strike. Have you guys played Strike before?
Oh, yes.
Dice tracking game.
Puzzle Strike? Puzzle Strike, is that it?
Just where it's like dice, you're chucking dice into an arena.
Yeah.
And that moment was special. Having another person come in and just said, "Oh, can we join the day? My son loves playing board games." I said, "Of course you can, come in." And we set the young boy up and the mum. The mum didn't want to play. She goes, "Oh, I don't want to play." And I said, "Oh, no. You're here. You're playing." Set them up on Ticket to Ride, taught them Ticket to Ride, and the mum ended up crushing her son, and the mum was loving it. She's celebrating and giving her son stick. Those were just so many special moments. And for me, for what we took away from the weekend, it's just a culmination of, we have our work lives. Our work lives are very busy. And we do this as a hobby, as a side little thing, and we do it for nothing. We do it just to bring people together and have a great time.
Right. Dana, what did you find was something that you would take away from the day? Because I think you certainly enjoyed yourself. You were making a lot of noise at the oak table.
Was I? Oh.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yes.
must have been getting excited over those accessories.
Dressing up your little meeples, yes.
was like playing with Barbie dolls all over again.
So what were the positives you thought of the event?
I thought it had a really good atmosphere right from the start, actually. It's always the way at those types of events, and you might even think this, Shane, as well. You always see the regular folk, at these sorts of events that you already know, and it was really lovely to see those people again.
Yes.
The regulars like yourself, and Ingrid and Shane are always there, and I don't know, Jessica and Veronica were there as well. But so it was wonderful to see the regular support, even from other events that happen in Brisbane, and to see them support this was really lovely. Oh, was someone about to say something?
Oh, no, I was just about to say you're absolutely right, because it's very interesting, and this is what we're trying to do with Board Game Together Queensland, is we want to connect all the groups that are going in Queensland. We don't want to be insular and just keep within your group. So it was really nice to see a lot of the north side in that room and a lot of the south side in that room. And a lot of new people, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. Were there quite a few people from your, like, Fugitive Ferret games or Aspley games? I think that's who I was playing with in Darwin's Journey. They all seemed to sort of know each other. And I was the random Southsider.
The north side community is actually quite a strong community. We've got over 600 members.
Oh, wow.
on our site, and we have regular events every fortnight. So those events generally have anywhere between 20 and 30 people. And so yes, there would have been probably a higher number of Northsiders at this event,
which was great, because it was on the south side, and
it's great.
As you know about
exactly.
Brisbane people, they don't like to cross the river.
We don't like to travel.
No.
They don't like to cross the river, so that was really good to see so many Northsiders there.
It was interesting because everyone was saying to me, "Oh, you've got such a long way to go home tonight," and because I'm on the north side, and I said, "Literally, I've got 25 minutes to drive,"
which is nothing, really.
Which is nothing.
Nothing. No, quite right.
On a busy work day, I'm in traffic for an hour versus 25 minutes to come across the bridge and just play board games with, people I haven't played games with, and meet new people I've never met with before. So very well worth it.
So yes, that was very good. It was great that, you guys were there, welcoming everybody, which was really lovely as well. Board Game Library was awesome. Actually, we used a couple of games from there. It was really good. I thought that which is a bit different from, because as you know, I volunteer with the Board Game Barbecue as well, but it was really nice to see that board in the centre of the room where people could just come in and write their name down on the board, because that's something that is, it's good, but I just think it's in some ways a little bit unfair, the way it's done online sort of thing, because you've got to be there, and literally all the games sort of the teachers go within about 5 minutes. And if you're not online, you're not going to get a teach at all. So I thought it was really good that people could turn up on the day and write their name down. I thought that was wonderful. And I think you should definitely continue that in the future.
No, thank you for that feedback, because that's something Dave and I wanted to do differently. We didn't want to put up, because everyone was asking, when are you going to put up the game day teachers for ticket sales? And we said, we're not actually going to do that. We want to open it up for everyone, so that when you walk in the door, you can actually put your name down on a game. It's and so that worked really well. So thank you. That's great feedback.
No, it was really, really good. And I thought the facilities were great. And it was so good to see your family. They're helping you, your wife and your son, Max.
Stellar job, yeah.
Running
the canteen.
And they were there the whole day.
Maxie was there with me until 10:04 when we left on Saturday night, and he was back the next day as well. It was really cute. At one point, Lauren flagged me over at about, I think, 2:00 in the afternoon on the Sunday, and I looked over, and there's Max on the little chair, head against the oven, fast asleep. He was zonked.
Dare I say a Kodak moment?
There was photos flying around, yeah. But no, they did a stellar job, and like for those that know me and know Lauren is not a board gamer whatsoever. One of the funniest moments for her was Ingrid walked up to her and said, because I think I was off checking the bring and buy. Ingrid walked up to Lauren and said, "Hey, Lauren, I hear you've played Beer and Bread with Shane quite a few times and you like it. Can you come and teach me and Shane how to play it?" And Lauren looked stone cold at her and said, "Absolutely not." And Ingrid just started laughing. She goes, "That's Shane's thing. This is not my thing. No, I'm not doing it."
Yeah.
So,
so that was really lovely to see your family, and I think Dave's wife was there at one point as well. I noticed as well, which was really lovely to see the family support you guys in your venture. But yeah, no, it was a great day. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I wanted to go there on the Sunday, but LXG was on the Sunday. But I had a great time, and well done.
No, thank you. And it'd be remiss of me to actually not thank Eddie too from LXG, because he was there both days. He was one of the first people there on Saturday morning, and he was there with me on Sunday morning really early, just after 7 o'clock as well. So, thank you to Eddie for your support, and that's what it's all about. It's about these communities connecting and working together to keep building it.
Absolutely, bringing the community together. We share a common interest, and how good was it to share, though, our experiences with just people coming in from the markets, and that story that you shared of, giving away a board game, that is making memories. Like, you're not going to forget that, and they certainly won't forget that. And you know what? They're probably going to be back next year, and you just probably grew the community from a board game perspective just that little bit more. So from my perspective, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was a very, very different event. It was very comfortable. It was very welcoming, and just you could tell from the audience in the room the fun that people were having, and it was a lot more casual. I think the less structure did very much contribute to how the couple of days went in that regard. And I'd probably and I know how difficult these types of events can be to get off the ground, but I'd probably say next year, if it, Briscon 2024, bring it on, and it's going to be bigger and better. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it certainly is, and we have signed up for the next 3 years. So Dave and I are going to, and board game together.
You've heard it first on this podcast.
You have. We are there for the next 3 years, and we're looking at making it bigger and better next year. So we're going to be in talks we want a bigger room. And even Martin Wallace wants to help us next year as well.
Nice.
But you talk about those making moments piece, Joe, where you mentioned before. There was another moment where the mum and son that were playing Ticket to Ride, I ended up giving them a deluxe version of Solar Storm. It's an old Kickstarter, because the young boy said to me he likes Pandemic. And Solar Storm has got that pandemic system happening in it, but it's in space. So I gave him a copy of it, and he, we were doing all the giveaways, and the mum and him were really happy. He ended up going up to Phil and said, "Oh, could you teach me how to play this game?" And Phil said, "I would love to, but I don't know how to." The person that does know how to play that game is over there sitting on that table, and that's when I was playing Broom Service.
Mm-hmm.
But a gentleman by the name of David, and he runs the Brisbane tabletop gaming group, walked up, was standing next to Phil, and he said, "Hey, I've got an idea. How about you and I learn it together?" And so he took him, sat him down. They both read the rule book and learned how to play it together. I mean, that's just another memory there in itself.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And I did actually see tonight, so we have the Friday night gaming group going on at Kalinga at the community place. They're both there tonight.
Oh, amazing!
Really, the man David and
the young boy and his mum are there tonight playing board games. At the community place.
Wonderful.
So
making memories.
To your point, Joe.
Do you think we're a cult?
Absolutely.
I've said this before, but we're always trying to recruit new people. And we sound like a cult. And I've said we're a lovely cult. But
we are a lovely cult, and I've drank the Kool-Aid. I'm all in.
Oh, so. Dear.
Yeah.
Dear. Well, my positive outcome from the weekend was that at the very beginning, I had a gentleman come up to me and say, "Are you John?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "I'm Paul. Do you remember me?" And he specifically came to Briscon to catch up with me.
Wow.
We've not seen each other for probably 40 years, and it just made me feel really happy, to be honest, to find that somebody came looking for me after all these years. So he said he found me because he follows the podcast and my YouTube channel. So he said he knew from what I'd been posting that we were going to be there at Briscon. But again, just the atmosphere of all the people that come together to play games. Like, I don't think I heard one crossword or anybody getting angry or disillusioned. I think with the day that while I was there, so I think it was a huge success in bringing a rather diverse group of people who enjoy playing games, and I think it went very well. So, having looked at the positive, we now need to have a look at, were there any, I guess, negatives? Well, I don't like to use the word negatives. Let's say things that we can improve on for the next time.
Opportunities for development.
Exactly. So, Joe.
Oh, you threw me under the bus first off.
Yes, of course. Of course, because I know what Shane's response is already, you see, so I've decided I'll start with you. So, look, I've given you another 20 seconds to think about it.
Oh, well, look, I'd certainly say the space. Like, if we could get a bigger space, that would probably, kind of help bring more people in, create opportunities and the tables. The tables did fill up really fast, which is also good because you also don't want to have lots of vacancy around to kind of, bring it. I just think the whole day had a warm, cozy feel to it. So, the atmosphere kind of set it up in that regard. The site itself is pretty hard to get around because, parking's down at one end and you've got to carry stuff. So I think, bringing the library and setting it up the day before was really good. But if you're like John and I, and you end up spending 45 minutes in the lineup to get to the bring and buy, and then come back with about 20 kilos worth, well, it felt like 20 kilos of games.
I only bought one game. I was very restrained, thank you.
I wasn't.
No, I know you weren't, but then neither was Stuart.
No, but I think
you need to do like Mark Chi and bring a trolley.
Yes.
Oh, I liked that. But then he had so little in it when he trottled off with it. Oh, except for Sunday, he came back and cleaned them out, apparently. But yes, his little trolley was wonderful.
So I just think, probably the space would be a super enhancement. But I don't think I would change much, to be honest. I think, the great strategy of allowing people to kind of write their name up on the board on the day kind of makes it a level playing field. There's no exclusivity, in that regard. Everybody had participated well. There was heaps of variety. People brought their own games. So I don't think I would change the way that you kind of administer it. I think the very important game is the VIG kits were a fantastic touch and very well received. I'm hoping that sponsors will get behind you guys solidly, for the next one, but I can certainly see it growing.
Shane, I wore my lanyard to LXG the next day.
Well done.
Yeah. Yes, and you told us we were all bad because we were supposed to all wear them, you said.
We were supposed to all wear them, and I was on my own.
I think every board game event you go to, just wear that lanyard.
Yeah. I will now, to be honest. And I caught up with DG on Wednesday. We had lunch at my new workplace, and we were talking on this very topic to kind of say, you know, what would you do differently? What would you change? And I gave him the same feedback in that, you know, it's a very good, and I also don't think it's commercialized. It's not, which is very, very different, you know, to some of the other events. Like, if you have a big con, you know, it tends to be a little bit more vendor driven or commercialized in that sense. And I really think the pitch was really well for the first one here, and I'm hoping that it's at a very solid platform for you guys to kind of build upon that. So, you know, for genuinely, I wish you all the success over those next 3 ones, because I know that you guys will nail it.
Thanks, mate.
Dana?
We can't do it without you guys neither. So,
Dana, any thoughts of what you thought could be improved on?
Probably the one thing that I thought of. No, actually, 2 things. I did speak to. I think it was Stuart and myself were speaking to you, Shane, about it. Is really trying to get those north side and south side people to play games together, but somehow get them at a table together, because sometimes I do find that you tend to gravitate towards the people you know, with games.
And there's that comfort level, right? There's a comfort level you build with people, and but also too your own personal anxieties.
Yes.
So it's, you know, can they jump out of their comfort zone and meet new people?
Yeah.
That's a good call. I like it.
Yeah, just I don't know, some way of getting those 2 together to try and sort of meet other people. But the other thing is, I actually had someone I knew who came, but doesn't get up early in the morning. So they came sort of throughout the day. I think it was about 11, 12 o'clock, something to that effect. And because everybody was sort of, and this happens at LXG all the time, if you turn up not at the start, and it can be very difficult to get a game because everybody's already involved in something. And, you know, a lot of board gamers, and we've talked about this before, that they suffer from a bit of anxiety, whether it's social anxiety, that kind of thing. And in the end, because they couldn't sort of, there wasn't anything available for them, they just end up leaving. And I thought, what could I have done better to help her? And I did see her. We were already in the middle of a game, and I said, so-and-so's looking for you. And I didn't think this person would leave, but they did, and I've always felt bad about that. And I do notice sometimes at LXG and even at the other events that we've been to, that if you don't turn up at the start, sometimes it's hard to get into a game.
You wander around looking very lost, and you start to question, why did you actually turn up?
And I'm wondering how to get around that. I'm not really sure what the answer is, but it's something that has always been an issue at any event I've been to. And as I said, even at LXG, where we've had people turn up, people are involved, and then they end up leaving.
Well, it's like what Shane said, with probably just having 2-player games about, with, say, a small group of people who are just dedicated to engaging people who turn up, waiting to get into a game when some are finished. So at least they are then participating.
Yes.
And rather than just going, geez, I might as well go home, which we really don't want them to do. So maybe that might be something for future, is perhaps a small band of volunteers who just concentrate on facilitating people who turn up who are just waiting to get into a game later. There's always that possibility.
Those small filler games are very good for that, because you tend to, if you're involved in a filler game, then you often will say to the people when they're finished, do you want to play something else? And and then you go off and do something else. So I think that's a really good idea, just to have someone or, some volunteers or whatever that just do fillers throughout the day.
And, potentially too, stagger games. So any of the scheduled games, maybe stagger them through different times.
Yeah.
Instead of having all of them starting at 9:30, potentially you could start them a little bit in between each other.
And a suggestion might be because you did have them throughout the day, like it was 9:30, 1:30, I don't know, it was 4:30 and then 6 or something like that. It was throughout the day, but perhaps leaving the afternoon games and not filling up all the sessions until a certain period of time, like as in not opening up booking for some of the games, or like only booking half, and saying and leaving just a couple of spots open for those people that do arrive late, that kind of thing. I don't know whether that's a possibility, but
no, anything's possible.
Yeah. But
Well, my only piece of, I guess, feedback in regards to things that concerned me is that being a person of an advanced age, I found that the noise level.
It was loud.
I go deaf, and even with people sitting opposite me, I'm there. I almost need an ear trumpet or something to. I think I'd look rather fetching at one of the events with an ear trumpet saying, "Come on, please, I can't hear you. Please speak up." But that honestly would be the only thing that. But then that's fairly common in a lot of conventions and tournaments, is that the noise factor tends to be sometimes a distraction, but I think on the whole, I think everybody tolerated it and moved forward. So just put it down to an old man not being able to hear.
It was it was the room itself, the way the room was designed. If it was more of a convention hall, that would have dulled out the noise. So we know at the community place, they ended up putting in sound bats into the walls, into the ceilings and the walls. Yep. So it actually dulls the sound. So now it just reduced the echo significantly. But it was a loud room, and it was buzzing. However, when you looked at the RPGers, they seemed to cope with it down the other end.
Was there an upper level?
Yes, there is. That was dedicated to RPG.
Oh, okay. I wandered around up there in the evening, and I felt a bit creepy because it was all dark. So maybe everybody had left by that point.
We
out stalking again, Dana, weren't you?
It's certainly the upper level and the lower level. We're looking at trying to see, how can we make that work next year?
Yeah, nice.
So Shane, did you identify anything yourself that I guess we haven't already covered as things that you would think about improving for next year?
A lot of your feedback is things that I've worked through. Probably one of the major ones I think is I want to have a subsection for people that are walking around that they can get a game. I felt
drop-ins.
Okay. I whilst people were ticketed and they were playing, if I can have a subsection just sectioned off where I can sit people down, teach them something really fast. So we have a smaller board game library in there to teach a really quick game, because they've come to the con not to play board games, but they've come to the con to experience a board game. So I suppose for walk-ins, I just want to have a sectioned off next year for anyone that walks in, that we can teach them something. So what I did on Sunday, I decided to make that section where the trigger hex was, so that Erica could teach trigger hex. Yep. So Erica was full the whole day. Anyone that was walking around, I saw Erica not busy, I directed them over to play trigger hex. And lo and behold, everyone bought a copy of trigger hex.
That's great, and that's great for her as well.
It is. And so I think next year that's something I want to certainly add. Yes, there'll be ticketed seats, which gives you access to our massive board game library. However, we'll have a smaller board game library of really fast, easy to teach, easy to learn games.
Yeah,
that gets people into the hobby. I think that was missing this year.
It's a great idea.
But also too, the room size, I want it bigger, and it's going to be hard at Briscon to get a bigger room than what we have, because when you look at Briscon, there's not much there. At Convention Centre, that's a no-go. Extremely expensive, but hey, we want to take this bigger and better. So if we can get both levels next year, fantastic. It's a good start.
Right. All right. Well, we're just about at the end of this episode. So Shane, you would clearly say that Briscon was a huge success.
Definitely a huge success, with some learnings. And I know Dave and I were really pleased. And, a big thank you to all our sponsors with VR Distributions, Catan, Rebel Studios. Big thank you to all our teachers, Tristan, Dave Crew, Ben Todd, were amazing throughout. And a big thank you to the Board Game Together committee that had to put up with me for 12 months driving them. And that was a learning for me too. Like, I've got my business hat. I'm a leader in business life. And sometimes, it's harder to lead a bunch of volunteers than it is
very hard
to lead people that are being paid to do what they do.
Absolutely.
So a big thank you to all of those volunteers on the day that, did this for the love of our hobby.
Yeah.
One other negative I'll point out is you didn't even sell Twix bars. Who doesn't sell Twix?
That's on Dave. He bought the chocolates.
There you go.
Dear. All right, then. Well, look, thank you, everybody, for participating in today's episode, especially to our special guest, Shane. We hope that we'll be able to persuade you to come on any of our future episodes. And if you are a listener and would like to be part of one of our episodes, please drop us a line and we'll see what we can do about getting you involved in the local gaming community here in Brisbane. So it's good night from me.
Good night.
Here we go again.
Sorry, good night.
You haven't learnt this yet, have you, people?
Good night. Good night, John Boy.
Yes. Good night, Dana.
Well, good night for everyone, and thank you for the invite. I do appreciate coming along the show, and it won't be my last time. Board Game Together does have an Instagram site now, so if you want to jump on.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Board Game Together and just went on live last night on Instagram.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
All right, then. Well, thank you, everybody. And until next time,
Good
see
evening.
you then.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.